Hi, this is Dovid Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And whether you're watching on Torah Anytime or wherever you watch or listen to your podcast, we're so happy to have you along for the experience. We do an online share in Daf Yomi, and there's a Gemara in Shabbos that we did not long ago. And it says, what was the name of the mountain where the Torah was given? So it's machlokes. Is the name of the mountain Har Chorev, or is the name of the mountain Har Sinai? Well, it's really examining two separate principles. One possible principle is that it's called Har Chorev because the first time you see the mountain mentioned in regard to Moshe Rabbeinu, it's called Har Chorev. So the first time that something appears, we assume that that's the definition. You find this very often in the Torah, that the first time something comes up, that's the definition that you'll find it used for in every other context. The first description of a war in the Torah is the war of Abraham against the four kings. What was the purpose of that war? To rescue Lot. Why? Because from Lot would come Dovid, would come Mashiach. So, says Reb Tzadok, every war is a war for Mashiach, to bring Mashiach. Any war that takes place. And you can play with this historically to see how it works out. But the first time anything appears, it's always there for that purpose to give a definition. And so therefore it was called Har Chorev, and it's not really Har Sinai. Alternatively, maybe the name of the mountain was Har Sinai. Why? Because most of the time that the mountain is mentioned, it's called Har Sinai. So do you want to go by the majority, or do you want to go by the first? That's what the argument is about. Now, if it's called Har Sinai, why is it called Har Chorev? And the Gemara says, because it brought a churban to the nations of the world. Now, the nations of the world sort of suspected this, because they come to Bilam while the Torah is being given and they say, God's bringing another Mabul to the world. He's destroying the world. And Bilam reassures them, he's giving them the Torah. To which they respond, Hashem Yivarech, good luck to them. So they sensed it was a Mabul. It was coming to destroy the world. Yeah. And to a certain extent, it is a Churban. Because while I have my opinion and you have your opinion, and we can argue back and forth, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes down and says, this is absolute truth, capital A, capital T, then whatever you think is essentially irrelevant. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, this is the truth. So that completely destroys every other philosophy on the face of the earth. And that, of course, is the Kuzari's famous argument when he says, how do you know Matan Torah is true? He says, where would anybody even make the claim that an entire nation heard God speak from the heavens? It doesn't make any sense unless it actually happened. So it basically destroys whatever anybody else is saying. That's Matan Torah. I may have mentioned this, but I heard Rabbi Silver speak once. He had the Chassan Bereshis, and he says, why does the Chassan Bereshis make the Kiddush? Chassan Torah should make the Kiddush. The Chassan Torah is the one who finished the Torah. So he brought this idea of Har Chorev being a Korban, and he says it's an ongoing process. Because every time you learn something, again, you destroy your earlier pshat, obviously. You read the story of Yosef and his brothers when you're a little kid, and he get a pretty coat, and his brothers are jealous of him, and they throw him in a pit, and then, yeah. Okay, then you start learning it with the Mefarshim, and you see there's much deeper ideas. Then you take it further, and each time you do, your earlier pshat looks ridiculous to you. A guy told me when he first started Nor Sameach They were doing Arvei Psochim. Yeah. And it talks about whether or not you can eat Erev Pesach and what time you have to stop. So one of you says you can eat Mina Mincha L'mala, Lochal Mina Mincha L'mala, K'dei Shchanas Shabbos Keshu Taga. The Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Ochel V'holech Ad Shetechshach. What that really means is Ochel V'holech Ad Shetechshach. You can eat and keep going till it gets dark. But he translated it as Ochel, you can eat, as long as then you're Holech Ad Shetechshach, you walk until it gets dark, so this way you'll build up an appetite. And no one could convince him he was wrong. Eventually, obviously, some point before he got smicha, I guess he figured out what the real shot was. But, it's you look at what you thought originally and you wonder, how could that have been? What was I even thinking? Yeah. About 20 years ago, I was going to put out a sefer of my chidushim that I said in Chumash, and a particular Talmud Chacham talked me out of it. Now that's not too hard because I don't like to do anything anyway. Lahavdil, the Chavaz Levavo said he wasn't going to write this sefer, but he was afraid it was because of Atzlas, so he wrote it anyway. But he says to me, "You'll write it now, and you'll look at it 20 years later, and you'll be embarrassed by what you wrote. So wait till you're older." It's so interesting because Yehoshua Hartman, who of course wrote in many svarim of the Maharal, he said to me around the same time, "Why don't you put out something?" So I said, "Because I'm afraid it won't be so good." He says, "So what? If I was to redo the Gorayeh, my parents on the Gorayeh today, I probably would do it much better. But you have to write, you have to put out, you have to publish." Yeah. So I allowed my atzlas to be machriya. Yeah. So I haven't put out anything. Someone asked me, "Will you ever write your own book?" And I said I might put out something posthumously. So they said, "Oh, good. I hope it's soon." In any event, so that's why it would be called Har Chorev. But if it was really called Har Chorev, why was it called Har Sinai? And the Gemara concludes because that's when the Sinah for the Jews came down to the world. That was the beginning of anti-Semitism. Now, why should that be exactly? So the answer is people don't like people who are better than them. And sometimes people say to me, "You think you're better than me?" And this person has done a lot of terrible things. And I say, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do." Who are you to judge me? I'm not judging you. I'm just saying that, if you're going to rob, you're going to cheat, you're going to steal, and you're going to lie, all the terrible things that you do. I don't do those things. So, okay. They always say, don't fight with somebody unless you walk a mile in their shoes. This way, if he still wants to fight with you, you're a mile away and you got his shoes. But, I understand. Okay, you have to put everybody into context, etc. But, when you do the right thing and somebody else isn't, Mati Burki tells a story. He's for this secular businessman. He says, "Whenever I see one of your religious Jews, I always hear the same voice saying, 'Harry, you're no good. Harry, you're no good.'" So Mati said to him, "Do you hear that voice now?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, there's only me and you here, and I'm not talking. The voice is coming from you." There's something about the Jews trying to make the world a better place that infuriates some people. When I say infuriate, I'm thinking like pogroms, Holocaust, Inquisition, Why can't you just ignore us? I remember Rav Henoch Leibowitz, Rosh Yeshiva Chofetz Chaim, he once said, the Chazal say that Vayichad says by the Dorf Loga, he says they had to make fun of Abraham to cancel him out. He says, why? He's one person against the entire world. Avram Ivri. He was Echad. He was on one side. The entire world was on the other side. Who cares? He's some nut. The voice of truth eats away at you. Eats away at you. So people always love to come up with stories about Jews who aren't acting correctly. Why? Because there's a rule in journalism. Dog bites man, it's not news. Man bites dog, that's news. You don't find lots of stories where they'll identify the religion or the ethnic group of the person. 2 Christian men were caught today breaking into a liquor store. Yeah. Why? Because when a Jew does it, that's news. Because the world looks at us under a microscope. And they just keep looking for things that they can catch us on. Here in Eretz Yisrael, that sinna is aimed towards the religious community. As the Gemara in Psachim says, more than non-Jews hate Jews, Amaratzim hate Talmidei Chachamim. It's vicious hate. And it was an unbelievable story just recently. There's a major music star here in Israel. His name is Aviv Geffen. And he was giving a concert, Corona, whatever, however it was being filmed. And he gave a shout out to the people in Bnei Brak. Now, this guy's had nothing nice to say about religious Jews in his whole life. But I don't know why, he doesn't even know why. It moved him. The whole city's on lockdown. He gives a shout out to Bnei Brak. And when he finishes his show, he looks at his phone and he's gotten hundreds and hundreds of texts. This is how he tells the story. He says he sat down, started scrolling through them, and he started crying. Because there were hundreds and hundreds of texts from people in Bnei Brak who said, "Thank you for thinking of us." And he said, my whole life, I was brought up to think that those Haredi Jews are them, to make fun of them and to attack them. And all I had to do was say one nice word. And look how everybody turned around. It was a chiddush. A chiddush is that we're people. The words of Shakespeare. When you prick us, do we not bleed? Are we not people? Yeah. But the concept that people just don't like us, and it's universal, not just some places. This story is 30 years old, but 30 years ago I remember reading that the Protocols of the Elders of Zion was a bestseller in Japan. There aren't even any Jews there. There's a need to hate Jews. I've mentioned this in the past that I have a soft spot for Broadway musicals. So of course I haven't been keeping up. Most of the ones I know are from the 50s and the 60s. But one time I was on a plane and they had like show music. So I put it on, and there was this play on Broadway called Spamalot, which was basically a takeoff on the Monty Python and the Holy Grail by King Arthur and his knights, So they changed it for the Broadway show. And the Knights Hussein Nee, who originally made them get a shrubbery, so now he says they have to put on a Broadway show. I said, we're never going to do it. He says, why? He says, you don't have any Jews. How are you going to do it without any Jews? There is a small percentile who enjoys a dancing Gentile. I'm telling you, I was listening to this on the plane. I was holding the pillow over my face because I was laughing so hard. Everybody was looking at me. It was so funny. So someone told me there was a line later on where King Arthur's squire, towards the end of the play, he says, "What are we going to do? We still haven't found any Jews." He says, "Well, I'm a Jew." He says, "Why didn't you say something earlier?" He says, "It's not the kind of thing you mentioned to heavily armed Christians." Yeah, we've had pretty poor experience. The past year, the majority of attacks on minorities have been against Jews. They shot up a shul here, they shot up a shul there. And we all know what the response was. All of the Jews went out in the street, demanding justice, breaking windows, looting stores, setting fires to places. Oh, no, wait, that's not what happened. No, there was a black man who got killed by a white cop, and then the black community decided to loot and burn and destroy everything. There have been 2 incidents of black men who were killed by police, unless they were pulling a gun on the police or something like that, but when the police killed a black person. 2 cases. And so they took to the streets. You know what they did? They defaced synagogues. They smashed Jewish-owned stores and restaurants. What did we do? Slavery? Slavery? Most of us came over in the 1900s. That's slavery. People came over after the Holocaust with nothing but the clothes on their back. I remember I asked Rabbi Orlofsky, the rabbi of Youngersville, Noah Park, I said, during World War II, why aren't you people out protesting? And he said to me, Bacher, always used to call me Bacher, Bacher, you don't know what you're talking about. You grew up in America with a culpa to defend the rights of Orthodox Jews. You don't know what it was to see buildings that had signs, no Jews or dogs allowed. Everyone knows this. The New York Athletic Club wouldn't allow in Jews. Groucho Marx, hardly a religious icon, wanted to join a country club. They wouldn't let him join because he was Jewish. Led to his famous line when a different club said, Groucho, you could join us. And he says, I wouldn't join any club that would have me as a member. There were whole neighborhoods with signs, no Jews or dogs allowed. One of the #1 radio broadcasts in America was Father Conklin, who was spouting anti-Semitism. Every single show. There were corporations, law firms, universities wouldn't allow Jews in. So what do? We burnt down everybody's houses. We smashed windows and stole things. No, we worked very hard. Nobody was there to help us. Nobody cared. And what's the result? A non-Jewish white man kills a black man, and they're defacing our shuls and burning our stores. What do? We are Or Lagoyim. We are the light unto the nation. We set a different standard that infuriates the nations of the world. So you have the leaders of the Women's March who can say anti-Semitic things. You have the Black Lives Matter website saying anti-Semitic things. You have congressmen saying anti-Semitic things. And not only were they saying anti-Semitic things, when they said just pass a resolution against anti-Semitism, the Democrats wouldn't do it. They controlled the House. We won't even condemn anti-Semitism. Forget about protecting us. Ridiculous. It's Matthias. The fact that you decide to live a different life, that you're going to be the emissaries of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his people, as his people in this world, you're the lightning rod. Or as Deborah Lipstadt in the book about Holocaust denial said, the Jews are the canary in the coal mine. In case there was coal dust, they used to keep canaries down there because they were very sensitive and they would die first. Says the Jew is the canary. Before somebody comes along to destroy the whole world, they start with us. We're the target. We've always been the target. It's a natural consequence of trying to be better. We've always said just one thing, just leave us alone. Let us do our thing. But it is not to be. So we hate Jews. And so we make condemnations against Israel. Countries like Syria and Iran, with their wonderful human rights records, are condemning us. And no one sees the irony in it. I'm talking in a meta-historical sense. I don't want to talk about specific things that are going on today. I just find it fascinating that whenever there's a problem, somehow it gets traced to us. You're upset at police brutality, so you're defacing synagogues and trashing Jewish restaurants. What did we do? How did we get into this? I understand you break into a Gucci, you want to loot it. Who's looting a kosher restaurant? You want to get your hands on some corned beef? You know what I mean? Like, what does that even mean? It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing, and it's something that we Jews have lived with for centuries and for millennia. And we don't riot. Sometimes we protest. 1970s, I was in the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County. They used to take us to Glen Cove, the Russian consulate. We would chant the Soviet Jews. 2, 4, 6, 8, let our people emigrate. Swoboda. 1, 2, 3, 4, open up the iron door. Yeah. We protest. But when they scribble graffiti on us, they attack us. Mayor de Blasio didn't have any police officers available to stop all of the frum Jews who were getting beaten in the street. People throwing things at them, people knocking them down, knocking them unconscious. There was nobody to stop them. We had videos of these people. No, nobody stopped them. But when they come out for a funeral, ooh. Someone said the reason that we break a glass under the chuppah is so this way Mayor de Blasio will think that we're having a riot instead of a wedding and he'll leave us alone. Everything going on in New York, and who's the problem? the religious. I found the yeshiva open. I found people not socially distancing in a shul. Go after the Jews. Make any sense? That doesn't make any sense. That's how it is. That is part of the Jewish condition. And I'll tell you the sad truth. The sad truth is that it's there for us to be able to maintain our Jewish identity. Because anytime we get too comfortable or to get too cozy, there's always a counter reaction. I used to meet these people in my father's generation. They'd say, I'd go to school, I'd walk to school, and I got beaten up by these non-Jewish kids. And they'd look at me and say, and I'm a proud Jew. I said, what are you proud of? He says, every day they used to beat me up. No, I understand, but what are you proud of? They beat me every day. I said, what are you, a masochist? You proud about the fact that you got a beating? What does that even mean to be a proud Jew? I understand we have to overcome anti-Semitism in order to do something meaningful. But for so many people, I was speaking to a group of students in Hebrew University who were training to become Hebrew school teachers. And one of them said, when I teach the kids about Jewish history, they laugh. They giggle, they doodle. When I talk to them about Jewish holidays, they're bored, they don't pay attention. When you mention the Holocaust, everybody sits up. What can I tell you? Anti-Semitism helps to bring people together. I think I may have told the story about Loischa. It says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed Moshe Rabbeinu a menorah of fire. And he showed him what it looked like, and it still didn't help. Not until he took the gold and threw it in the fire, and it came out completely made. And I said, what? Didn't he understand? The place in the old city, they made a model of the menorah. What does that even get? And one of my students in Or Samech, he says, Rabbi, you already said it. I said, I did? He says, yeah. You said that the menorah had to be made out of kika echad, one solid piece, and you couldn't add anything on. You had to cut it and move it around and bend it so the whole thing was made of one piece. And there was a central pole, and all of the candles had to point into the central pole because it represented unity. And he said, Moshe Rabbeinu knew how to make a physical menorah. He didn't know how to bring the Jewish people together. I said, and the only way to do that is to take the gold and throw it in the fire. That's when everybody comes together. When there's crisis, when there's trouble. Har Sinai. It's one of the most irrational things. Anti-Semitism, because we hate Jews. Doesn't matter for what. You hate them if they're capitalists, you hate them if they're communists, you hate them if this, you hate them if that. Everything. I mean, it doesn't matter what everybody else does. Nations of the world with the worst civil rights violations condemn us. Now, because someone said, man bites dog, that's news. Israel does something wrong, that's news. Iran does something wrong, you expect it. They still stone people to death. There's a video of this little kid who stole something, and they so they didn't cut off his hand. They got a truck to run it over, smash his hand. And they condemn us because of our civil rights violations. Olam hafach ra'isi. I saw an upside down world where the good are chastised and insulted and hated, and the evil, the looters, people burn down people's stores. I mean, if you opened up your business, they'd throw you in jail. But if people come to burn down your business, that's fine. But no one starts to see the contradictions at all. Ha'olam lamabul yoshav. The world is turning into a flood. Everything is becoming crazy. Doesn't make any sense. They're defacing our shuls because we killed anybody. You white people. What white people? We have more hate crimes than you do. More people attacking Jews. I hate to break it to you, a lot of them are blacks. But you're okay with that. It's okay to attack Jews. Nobody cares. Anyway, it's something that was on my mind when I was reading all these stories of what was going on. And I think to myself, they only hate you because you're successful. They only hate you because you're right. Mati Berger once said, the Christians say they're the chosen people. Did you ever see a Jew who hates the Christians because they think they're the chosen people? No. But people hate the Jews because we think we're the chosen people. Why is that? Says it's easy. Because we know they're wrong and they know we're right. So it really upsets them when we say we're the chosen people because they believe it too. They say they're the chosen people, and I'm like, hey, good for you. Jesus is going to cast all the Jews into the pit of hell, like on St. Peter's Cathedral over there. They show you the mural of casting all the sinners into hell, all the non-believers. Okay, yeah, we're cool. Cast us into the pit of hell. So what do you hate us for? We're going to burn hell, right? I guess they're having a hard time convincing themselves of that. When they stop hating us, that's when you got to start getting nervous. Esav came with an army of 400 men, and then he comes up and he hugs him. And that hug and kiss of Esav is the most dangerous. Become a part of us. Put aside all that Jewish stuff. Don't worry about it. No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Thanks. And that just infuriates them. Martin Luther said, wow, it's terrible the way the Catholic Church has treated the Jews. So I understand why you guys are upset because of the statues and this. We're going to bring it back to its original Jewish roots, and then you can all come and join us. And we're like, thank you, but we're going to stay Jews. And he became the most rabid anti-Semite. What do you mean, no? Are you suggesting that you're right and we're wrong? I'm not suggesting anything. I think you guys do whatever you do, and that's fine. May God bless and keep the Tsar far away from us. Anyway, I just thought when you see people complaining about prejudice, the majority of hate crimes are against Jews, not just in America, but around the world. We're the one group that everyone feels comfortable attacking, demeaning, insulting, sending out tweets about, shooting up in our synagogues. But the whole world comes to an end when somebody comes along and kills a black person. That's racist. But you can attack Jews, that's okay. Har Sinai, the sinner comes down to the world. Trust me, it's tough being right. But that's just what we have to bear in this world. Knowing that we're right, and because of that, so many people hate us. Well, that's it for this week. If you want to find out more about the show, you can go to my website, RabbIOrlofsky.com. You can make comments, you can sponsor an episode. And that's it. We'll see you next time. This is Dovid Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. The Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode, and we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.